no archery, for I'm the ghost of the buckaroo with cowboy boots, a Muslim horse, and Spanish roots. I settle up at sunrise to start another day. I ride the range and broke this race for very little pay.
Throughout history, the cowboy has been remembered, romanticized, and reinvented. In the United States, the long drives of the 1860s, 70s, and 80s forever lionized the cowboy as a horseman of the plains. His skills were impeccable, and his work ethic was incomparable. The cowboys of that and later eras share common Spanish and Mexican origins. Nowhere were these roots more evident than in the Rio Grande Valley. Valle vaqueros are a product of the past and the present in a rapidly changing environment.
I was born in a ranch up here named El Perdido. That was a family ranch. It's been divided now, but it was a family ranch, and I was born there and grew up. Then moved up to the new ranch over here by the highway where Omar lives, my brother. And we grew up there, went to school in San Isidro, and just went on from there. Always wanted to be a cowboy, you know, like most kids. And of course my grandfather was a cowboy and a cattleman himself. And then my dad and all of that, it was great. My grandfather, Melesio Longoria, he used to go check on his cows on horseback when I was about 6 or 7 years old, and he used to put me on the horse on the back, you know, and I'd ride with him. We used to call it an ancas, ¿verdad? You know, so he'd pick me up there at our house there at El Old Perdido, and he'd take me out to the pasture, and I'd ride with him all morning. And then he'd come over at noon, you know, from doing the riding that he'd do in the morning, and then he'd tell me at 3:30 in the afternoon, be ready because we're going out again. So I'd do it, you know, for as long as they'd let me do it, I would do it. And it just stayed in me, you know. When I grew up and went to school and got done with my high school, I was roping with during my school years. In 1967, 68, and 69, I roped for a Texas Youth Rodeo Association that they had with the school. And well, from there on, all I wanted to do was work on a big ranch or keep on with my roping. You know, there was even times where in school, you know, they weren't permitted for you to participate in the rodeo team, you know, and participate in sports and take your trophies or your medals. So I had to leave some of the medals in school to be able to receive the prize of cowboying or rodeoing, you know. So I did it, you know, because of the love for the sport, you know. But it was something that, you know, I used to love to do both things, you know. So then I had to leave one for another, you know. So I did for a while, and then I got through my high school years, and then I kept on rodeoing on the outside, you know, on weekends. Well, I think of him as a real cowboy, you know. Back then, that was as real as you could get. And he left me this, and I made a life out of it. I'm happy that it happened. When I first started, like at the McAllen Ranch, it was hard because Mr. McAllen he'd get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and that was every day. And he'd ask me, I want you there at least 4:30. I always wonder, of course, you know, you'd be up at 4:30 and you wouldn't come home till 7, or it was almost dark by the time you got home. Sometimes with a herd of cows, and you could see the horses, they were about to give up too, late evenings, and they were all full of dust, like when you ride on the back of the herd, all that dust is flying back, and being the foreman, sometimes you ride in the front, but at the McAllen Ranch, the foreman rides on the back. You get your point man on the front, and the guy in charge is gonna ride on the back so that he can see what the other guys are doing. That way you're watching them all the time, and Mr. McAllen, he taught me a lot of things. He said, the reason I want you on the back is because you're in charge, and I want you to see what's going on. So I'm getting all the dust, all this for years. I took all the dust. So you get used to wearing a bandana on your neck. That way you flip it over and you put it on your nose. And my golly, it's some like, if just now, as dry as it is, and riding behind 200 head of cows or 300, it's a lot of dust. But he taught me the right way, and I learned from him. Of course, you probably know, because they've been in the cattle business for many years, and I was fortunate enough to work for him, and I never got fired. I would be a jack of all trades. I'd cowboy, I'd drive cattle, we earmark cattle, I branded cattle, I don't know how many thousands there. And then, of course, windmill repair, I do all of that stuff. I used to do it. Now, I'm not doing it anymore, now that I'm getting older, but I got people that do it there at the ranch, and they're almost taking over all of that, I don't have to do the welding anymore. We got some young guys there that are doing it. The windmill repairs, another man is doing it, and I just take care of the cattle now. But like I said, I'm fixing to retire. But that's what I used to do. I mean, I think they got pictures of me on top of a windmill with my chaps and my spurs on, and I'm way up there on the platform. But that's what it comes, with the job. That's what comes with the job of a ranch foreman. I know that there's other ranches that don't do all these things. If you're the ranch foreman, you probably wear a well-ironed shirt, and and you're looking tip-top shape. It didn't happen with me. I'm a ranch foreman, but probably the last of the vaqueros like they used to be before, in the old days. You had to do a little bit of everything. I know that there's foremen in some of these ranches nowadays that they wear their shirt and tie, but I wouldn't call myself a foreman if I had to wear a shirt very, very well ironed and everything. It's not what it used to be. One time that it was a Saturday morning, and my son Johnny, he was just a little boy, but they always been involved with roping and since a very young age. I had this big old mare that I had trained, and Johnny, my son, had another mare, and another guy that worked there at the ranch. His name was Paulo Sanchez. He was helping us, and I roped the cow, and both of us were dragging the cow up the trailer, and she got hung on one of the horns on the side of the trailer, and my horse felt it, and she pulled, and it broke the saddle in half. It hit me right here, broke 4 ribs and this finger here, and I fell, well, I was there for a little while, on the ground, because the saddle broke. It just, those nylon ropes, they stretch about 3 feet, and it just whacked me really good, and it threw me off the horse. So I fell, and Johnny comes over, and he says, well, what happened? I said, the saddle broke. And well, I finally got up and got the horse ready again, and we loaded the cow and brought her over to the ranch. And as soon as I got home, it's very, she knows, my wife knows very well when I'm hurt. I got to the house, took my clothes off, took a shower, and went to bed. Well, you know what happens when you cool off. My golly, 15 minutes later, I couldn't move. And then it was a Saturday morning, and she says, let's go see the doctor now. No, I gotta wait till Monday. I said, we won't find a doctor. So we waited till Monday. Man, they gave me a scolding from hell, you know, because I broke my ribs, and they said, what if you would have moved the wrong way and it would have punctured your lung? I said, well, what are we gonna do now? He says, well, we can't do very much, just wrap you over. So they wrapped me over, and I got better, but you know, with life, as life went on, I had several other problems, you know. I don't know if you know about it, but I've been through a lot of stuff. But I'm still here. You know, I don't know if it was because I was a cowboy or maybe it's my physical way of being. I don't know. I mean, I went through open heart surgery. I went through a broken foot. I got 9 pins on a plate on a horse, on a roping accident. I got hung from the stirrup, and the horse jerked my foot and broke it in 4 places, my ankle. And that hurt. And of course, they had to do surgery on my foot. Then I had open heart surgery. And 6 months after my surgery, the doctor says, I don't want you doing anything. 6 months later, I'm on top of that horse again. And then I thought I was gonna be here forever. A year and a half later, I winded up with colon cancer. And the doctor says, I don't want you to even touch a saddle for a year because it's very dangerous for you, since they had to take some of my intestine out. And 6 months later, my wife is after me not to touch the horse or the saddle, and I'm on top of a horse again. And right now I'm still doing it. I mean, I feel great. I mean, after all the hard falls and the hard surgeries that I've been through, but I mean, I just have to do it. You know, I just have to do that. She's very supportive of this because, I mean, just getting hurt and having to be there to take care of you. We got married very young, and just the late hours, you know, not being able to be with the kids when they had a school program, that becomes a problem, you know. And she was very supportive of that, you know. This is how supportive she was. She drove a bus for about 18 years. Just so that she could get the kids to school. And she saw them all through junior high and high school, and she drove a bus. As soon as she sent them all to college or out of school, she went to college herself and became a nurse. And you know, it's really hard. It was really hard for her to be married to somebody like me, you know. You learn from experience and from your own doings. Sometimes it does not have a lot to do with going to school. It's fine, like I said, it's good, but it won't be the same. It won't be the same because that's where the people that work from 8 to 4:30, from 8 to 5. You know, I had some problems with my wife because she'd say, well, why do you have to work from 5:30 in the morning, leave at 5:30, and you don't come back till 7? Well, because if I worked all day gathering cattle, and then I can't get to the ranch or to the pens by 5, why am I gonna let them go? I mean, I worked all day to catch them. See, those are things that she had to put up with. The new vaqueros right now, uh, there at the McAllen Ranch, we're having a lot of changes. We're doing a lot of artificial insemination. Of course, we do that all the time. I've done it for many years. Uh, we're palpating all the cattle. When before this time that we're in right now, I used to cut all the cows that look barren. You know what that means. And the ones that look barren to my eye, I'd cut them off. And now I'm not getting a chance to do that. I got to run. If there's 1,000 cows in that ranch, I got to test them all. So that makes it harder for me. That's one of the changes. The other changes that we out of 15 cowboys or 16 that I had at the ranch back then, now we're down to about 3. It's me and 2 other guys, and then the way of gathering cattle now is we are using the, I don't know if you heard of the term honking them up. You know, you use the truck and you honk them, or we use a siren, and we get them trained for that, and they will come to the bag of feed. You know, you cube them, or you use the mascarrote, they call it in Spanish, and of course in English it's we cake them with cubes, and you see cowboys now running around with a bag of feed on the back of the truck. That's a cowboy for you. Now, like at the ranch, what we do now, we hunk up whatever we can, and whatever comes to the pens, and we pin them up on the straps, and then whatever's left over, then we might go out there and try to bring them in, drive them in like we used to on horseback. But now it's been a great change for me. At first, I mean, you got on the horse and you're gone in the brush, nobody will find you. You're working cattle, you're doing whatever, they don't have the change to tell you, you know what, we want for you to do this now. Leave that and go this place and do this. So it made it better for them too, you know, the cell phone. I mean, first we used to use those two-way radios, I think you call those. And now they're not using two-way radios no more. They're using a phone. And you know, that's a big change for somebody like me, where you were out there in the morning from 5:30 in the morning, and you wouldn't see anybody or hear anybody till 7:30 in the afternoon. Now it's changed so much that young people, you know, nowadays they start working at 7 like we're doing now. They go out at 7, and it doesn't matter if the horse has to eat at 5 o'clock because you're gonna use him at 7 o'clock. They get up at 7, they feed the horses or the cattle at 7, and if they're ready by the time you need it, fine, and if they didn't eat, they're gonna go without breakfast. You know, and those things don't agree with the way I've been raised. I don't think it's gonna go back to where, unless, like I told my boss, you know, we're not having any more people that are really interested in cowboying, and it's been so dry now this few years that we don't have water that stays on this water hose, you know, that we have. We got some water holes that have been named since the early 1700s. They got names like El Charco del Campo, El Charco de la Prieta, you know, all of those. And I tell them right now, it's okay because there's no water on the water holes. But what's going to happen when all these water holes are full because we got another Beulah? Like, remember Beulah? Beulah, we had water out there in the water holes for 3 or 4 years. I mean, you would take off on a horse to stop a cow, and all of a sudden that horse couldn't go. he was stuck on the mud 3 years later. So I tell him, what are y'all gonna do when you need cowboys to gather all these cows? Because they're not gonna come to water to the traps that we have, because there's water all over. So I don't know what they're gonna do. They're gonna have to go into the helicopter like most ranches are doing now. They'll have to use a helicopter and see if they can bring them in. And the helicopter is a good thing to use, because you can do the job on a big pasture, on a 10,000 acre pasture. You can probably gather it in 15, 20 minutes, maybe an hour. You can gather everything. That'd be the first time. Second time, you have a little more problem, because the cattle get used to getting on those mods, and you can't move them. They gotta keep on pushing, and sometimes they get used to it and they don't move. So that's another problem. But luckily, I won't be there. I won't be there to have to bear with that, you know. But I've gone through all of those things where you can gather cattle on the traps, and you don't have to go out there on the horse and drive them in. But I've also been through things like where there's a lot of water outside. You got to drive them, and you got to get the horse out there. You got to get some cowboys that know how to do those things. And of course, you know that the best cowboy is the one that was raised there, because they know the country, they know the land, and they don't have any of that anymore. A lot of these ranches, they hire outside people. They call them day's work. That's what they call it now. They call it day's work. You know, you hire a bunch of cowboys or wannabe cowboys, whatever we want to call them. But they have the problem is that they don't know the land, you know. So that creates problems for the rancher. My kids were raised there at the ranch. They can probably tell you where certain tree is at, where the cow passes are. They can tell you all those things because they were raised right there and they were always working. But some of these new guys, they don't know. They don't know where they're supposed to go on a horse to be able to stop a bunch of cows, because they weren't raised there. And if they bring people from the outside, it just gets harder, you know, because they don't know the land. But I don't think that the cowboy is gonna come back. You know, it's like I told you, it's a vanishing breed. Se está acabando, dijo. They had a man named Samuel Torres, I think was his name. He used to work for the Jones out there in Heavenville. And I asked him, and he said, se está acabando. The same question you asked me, and that's what he said. He said, se está acabando, and it is acabando.
Change continues to be the constant for the Valle Vaquero. Long drives and six-shooters have given way to helicopters, pickups, and cell phones. Technology has modernized the cowboy, yet decreased his numbers. Despite time and innovation, his work ethic and respect for traditions remain firmly in the past, marked by history, diversity, and a constant evolution. In many ways, Longoria epitomizes this change and a firm devotion to tradition.
I'm going to turn 62, but I consider myself older than most people, you know. And I like to be remembered as a cowboy, a good cowboy and loyal to my job. Like I said, just the other day, you know, I had one of my grandkids call me from school, and he says, "Grandpa, I need for you to come and pick me up." And I said, "Well, I'm at the Guajolota, which is about 3 miles from the school." But I was on the ranch truck. So I drive all the way back to Hidalgo County, to McAllen Ranch, to leave the ranch truck and pick my truck up. Just so that they know that I'm a loyal person and I'm not gonna use their stuff for anything if it has to do with my family. And that's the way I've been. I don't do anything that will jeopardize the ranch for anything, or or the people with the ranch. So that's the way I like to be remembered.
The valley is my birthplace, where will I live and die, and ride my horse through open range with cowboys in the sky. These words I speak, I know are true, for I'm the ghost of the buckaroo. Joe